What happens when a peaceful European town's quiet rhythm is shattered by a scandal nobody expected? When a respected 60-year-old man's secret connection with a 16-year-old girl comes to light, it sends shockwaves through the community, sparking fury, heartbreak, and fierce debate. This isn't just gossip. It's a story that challenges everything we think we know about age, power, and trust. Today, we're diving deep into the truth behind this explosive controversy and the lives forever changed by it. Every crime leaves behind a trail. But some trails were never meant to be followed. This is CrimeLock. Unlocking the darkest chapters of real-life crimes, hidden motives, and unsolved mysteries. From cold cases to brutal truths. We dig deeper, go darker, and reveal what others won't. If it was locked away, we're breaking it open. Subscribe now and step into the world where every case unlocks a new truth. It all began like any ordinary day for Clara, a bright, creative 16-year-old girl who dreamed of a future filled with art and freedom beyond her small town. One afternoon, while visiting the local art gallery, she met Victor, a respected artist in his 60s. Victor was known for his impressive career and quiet demeanor, having lived a mostly private life since losing his wife several years ago. Their first conversation was about art, inspiration, and aspirations. To outsiders, it seemed like a typical mentorship, a young talent eager to learn from an experienced artist. Victor saw potential in Clara and offered his guidance. Clara, in turn, found a rare source of encouragement and support. But rumors started to spread. In a small community, whispers travel fast. Soon, gossip about Clara and Victor's unusual friendship grew louder. People began questioning their frequent meetings, the amount of time they spent together, and soon, suspicion morphed into outrage. The town's reaction was swift and harsh. Parents worried about their children's safety. Friends of Clara expressed disbelief, struggling to understand how such a friendship could exist across such a vast age gap. Social media became a battleground of opinions, with many condemning Victor, accusing him of exploitation and manipulation. Victor insisted that his intentions were honorable, that he was simply mentoring a gifted young artist. Clara found herself caught in the middle, trying to explain the innocence of their connection, but the town was already polarized. Tensions boiled over when a group of concerned residents confronted Victor outside the local cafe where he and Clara often met. Accusations flew, voices were raised, and Victor faced harsh judgment. Clara felt the crushing weight of public opinion, making her question the very nature of her feelings. The scandal soon reached the ears of local authorities. At a heated town council meeting, emotions ran high. Some demanded protective measures for minors, while others urged respect for personal freedom and privacy. The mayor condemned the relationship, calling it a betrayal of community morals, and promised to take decisive action. Meanwhile, Clara's family struggled with their own fears and confusion. Her mother, torn between wanting to protect her daughter and understanding her emotions, was at a loss. Victor wrestled with guilt and loneliness, increasingly isolated by the community's backlash. As the story unfolded, the difficult questions surfaced. What about power imbalance? Consent? Social norms? Was this relationship genuinely harmful, or was it misunderstood? Was Clara a victim, or an independent young woman making her own choices? At the heart of the controversy, Clara and Victor's bond became a symbol of deeper societal tensions, a reflection of the fears, judgments, and complexities tied to age, love, and influence. As the scandal spread through the town like wildfire, Clara found herself increasingly isolated. Friends she once laughed and joked with now whispered behind her back, casting suspicious glances whenever she passed by. School became a battleground of stares and hushed conversations. Even teachers, unsure of how to handle the situation, kept their distance. Despite the pressure, Clara clung to her passion for art. She found solace in her sketchbook, pouring her confusion and pain onto paper. The faces she drew were raw, often reflecting her inner turmoil, her longing for understanding and her fear of being judged. Victor, too, was feeling the crushing weight of the community's condemnation. The man who once walked the streets with quiet dignity now kept to himself, avoiding public places and cutting off contact with most people. He had lost clients, friends, and neighbors who once respected him. The loneliness was suffocating. But amid the chaos, a small group of people quietly supported Clara and Victor. Some recognized the complexity of the situation, that it wasn't simply black and white. Among them was Elena, Clara's art teacher, who had noticed the genuine mentorship between the two. She believed Clara's talent was real and that Victor's guidance had helped her blossom. One evening, Elena invited Clara and Victor to a private gallery event. It was a chance for them to step away from the gossip and focus on what mattered most, the art. At the event, Clara's sketches were displayed alongside Victor's paintings, showcasing a connection that transcended age and scandal. As the guests admired the work, whispers began to shift. Some were still skeptical, but others saw the undeniable talent and the positive impact Victor had on Clara's development. It was a moment of hope, but the larger storm outside the gallery walls was far from over. Back in town, the media caught wind of the scandal. Local newspapers ran sensational headlines, painting Victor as a predator and Clara as a vulnerable teenager exploited by an older man. The story quickly went viral online, sparking heated debates across social platforms. Public opinion was fiercely divided. Some people called for legal action, demanding the authorities investigate Victor for inappropriate behavior. Others argued that the relationship was consensual and that Clara had the right to choose her friendships. The pressure reached a breaking point when Clara's parents were summoned by the local police for questioning. The family was torn apart by fear and confusion. Clara's mother, Isabel, confronted her daughter late one night. "Clara," she whispered, tears in her eyes, "you have to understand how dangerous this looks. People don't see what you see. They only see the age difference." Clara nodded, struggling to find words. "I'm not sure what I feel, Mom. But Victor has been kind to me. He's helped me believe in myself." Meanwhile, Victor faced his own legal battles. Authorities opened an investigation, not only into the nature of his relationship with Clara but also into his past. Though no previous allegations existed, the scrutiny was relentless. The court of public opinion had already made its verdict, but the real questions remained unanswered. Was this truly a case of exploitation? Or was it a story complicated by loneliness, artistry, and societal fear? As the investigation unfolded, Clara and Victor were forced to confront the reality of their situation. Their relationship was no longer private. It had become a symbol of controversy, morality, and law. Yet, through it all, the connection they shared refused to disappear. In stolen moments, they continued to meet, talk, and create. Their bond, however misunderstood, had a depth that neither could easily abandon. But the community's fury only grew. Protests erupted outside Victor's home. Calls for justice turned to threats. The once peaceful town was now a battleground of opinions, with Clara and Victor at its center. The days following the protests felt like a whirlwind. Clara's world had shrunk to the size of whispered conversations and guarded glances. She barely recognized the once friendly faces at school, They now avoided her like she was carrying some invisible mark. Her parents, especially her mother Isabel, grew more protective. Isabel's worry was palpable, her love mingled with fear. She kept pressing Clara to break off all contact with Victor, convinced it was for her daughter's own good. But Clara felt torn. Victor had become more than just a mentor. He was one of the few people who seemed to truly understand her. The laughter they shared, the stories about life and art, the quiet moments where Clara felt seen, those were now overshadowed by judgment and suspicion. Victor, meanwhile, found himself navigating an unforgiving maze. The investigation weighed heavily on him. He hired a lawyer and tried to maintain his dignity, but every step felt like sinking deeper into quicksand. Despite the pressure, Victor refused to let go of Clara. He believed their connection was genuine and wanted to protect her from the storm raging around them. But even he began to wonder, was their relationship truly innocent? Or had he been blind to how it looked to others? One afternoon, as Clara sat alone in the park sketching, a local journalist approached her. His name was Thomas, and though he was there to get a statement, he seemed different from the others, less accusatory, more curious. "Clara," he said gently, "I want to tell your side of the story. The world's already decided what to think, but maybe there's more to this." Clara hesitated but agreed to speak with him. For the first time in weeks, she shared her story, not the scandal the town saw, but the reality of her friendship with Victor. She spoke of art, loneliness, and the longing to be understood. Thomas listened carefully, his notes filling with a different perspective. He promised to tell the story with honesty and compassion. Meanwhile, the town council held emergency meetings to discuss stricter regulations about adult interactions with minors. Fear and outrage fueled new laws, but many argued these were knee-jerk reactions, ignoring the nuances of the case. At home, Clara's family was fracturing. Her father, Martin, tried to remain neutral, but the constant media scrutiny and community gossip wore on everyone. Arguments broke out late at night between Martin and Isabel, between parents and Clara. The scandal was pulling them apart. In the midst of this chaos, Clara made a difficult decision. She wrote a letter to Victor, telling him she needed time away to think, away from the scandal, the rumors, and the endless questions. Victor read the letter alone in his study. A mixture of heartbreak and understanding washed over him. He realized that no matter how much they cared, the world outside was unforgiving and relentless. As Clara took a step back, the community's fury didn't lessen. Protesters gathered outside the courthouse as the investigation moved forward. Police questioned neighbors, friends, even Clara's school staff, searching for any hint of wrongdoing. Some neighbors whispered of seeing strange behaviors, while others defended Victor's character. The town was divided, friendships strained, and alliances formed based on fear and loyalty. One night, Clara received an anonymous message on her phone. It was threatening, cruel, another reminder of how far this scandal had spiraled. She showed it to her mother, who held her tightly, tears streaming down her face. The line between protecting her daughter and suffocating her seemed thinner than ever. As the investigation neared a critical point, Clara faced a choice: stay silent and hope the truth would come out, or speak openly and risk further backlash. With Thomas's support, Clara decided to tell her story publicly in an exclusive interview, a move that shocked the town. In a quiet studio, surrounded by cameras and lights, Clara shared her truth, her feelings, her confusion, and her hope for understanding. She spoke of the mentorship, the support, and the difficult emotions tangled in their relationship. Her words divided the audience. Some praised her courage, others accused her of naivety or worse. Victor watched the interview from his empty home. A faint smile crossed his lips as he heard Clara's voice. It was a fragile moment of clarity amid the storm. But the battle was far from over. Legal hearings were scheduled. Community tensions simmered just beneath the surface. And Clara and Victor both knew that no matter what the outcome, their lives would never be the same. The day of the hearing arrived like a heavy storm rolling over the town. The courthouse, usually a quiet place, was now packed with reporters, protesters, curious townsfolk, and legal teams. Cameras flashed relentlessly, capturing every tense moment. Clara sat with her parents in the courtroom, her hands trembling slightly. Despite the chaos outside, inside, time seemed to slow down as she prepared to face a world that had already judged her and Victor. Victor arrived, his face a mask of calm determination. The man who once had a quiet life was now at the center of a public spectacle, his reputation shredded, his future uncertain. The hearing began with the prosecution outlining their case, painting Victor as a manipulative older man who preyed on a vulnerable teenager. They presented messages, witness statements, and evidence designed to support their claims. Victor's defense team countered, arguing that their relationship was consensual, built on mutual respect and genuine affection. They highlighted Clara's own words, her sketches, and the testimony of Elena, the art teacher who vouched for the mentorship. Throughout the proceedings, Clara sat quietly, sometimes watching Victor, sometimes staring at the floor. The emotional toll was immense, but she remained resolute in telling the truth as she saw it. Outside the courthouse, the crowd was a mixture of supporters and protesters, their voices clashing in the streets. The media frenzy showed no signs of fading, with debates spilling over into homes, cafes, and social media. After days of testimony, the judge called for a recess. It was a moment of fragile calm before the final decisions. In private, Clara and Victor met briefly. Their eyes met, sharing a silent understanding of what lay ahead. They knew the verdict would impact more than just their futures. It would echo through the town, shaping conversations about love, power, and boundaries. Meanwhile, Clara's family tried to hold themselves together. Isabel's fears lingered, but she also recognized her daughter's strength. Martin, once quiet and withdrawn, found a new resolve to support Clara, even if he didn't fully understand. As the legal battle raged, the town itself was changing. Conversations about consent, age, and personal freedom took center stage in community meetings and school programs. Some residents pushed for education and compassion, others doubled down on strict rules and moral judgment. In the midst of this, Clara continued to create. Her art became her refuge and her voice a visual diary of pain, hope, and resilience. Her drawings captured moments of light amid darkness, reflecting a girl growing into herself despite the turmoil. Victor, too, found moments of peace in his studio, though the shadows of doubt lingered. He questioned how his actions were perceived and wondered if his intentions mattered when judged through society's harsh lens. The day finally came when the judge delivered the verdict. The courtroom was silent, every eye fixed on the bench. The decision was nuanced. While no criminal charges were pressed due to lack of concrete evidence of wrongdoing, the judge warned Victor about the importance of boundaries and the perception of relationships involving minors. Victor was ordered to undergo counseling and maintain distance from Clara until she reached adulthood. The verdict left many dissatisfied. Supporters saw it as a partial victory, while critics argued it didn't go far enough. Clara, though relieved that the harshest accusations were dropped, felt a bittersweet mix of emotions, freedom tempered by the reality of the imposed separation. The town slowly began to settle, though the wounds remained. Clara's story became a cautionary tale, a conversation starter about the complexities of human relationships and societal expectations. In the quiet after the storm, Clara and Victor faced a new chapter, one defined not by scandal, but by the challenges of healing and growth. But the journey was far from over. The emotional aftermath, the questions about power, consent, and agency lingered. In the weeks following the verdict, life in the small town slowly returned to a semblance of normalcy, but for Clara and Victor, the aftermath was anything but simple. The court's decision had forced a separation. Victor was legally required to keep his distance from Clara, a rule both respected, though it pained them deeply. The connection they once shared, vibrant and inspiring, was now reduced to memories and silent longing. Clara retreated into her art like never before. Her sketchbook overflowed with pages filled with haunting images, portraits of isolation, struggle, but also of hope and resilience. Each stroke was a catharsis, a way to process the storm that had swept through her life. Her story continued to resonate beyond the town's borders. Articles and social media discussions debated her case, sparking conversations about consent, agency, and the often blurry lines in relationships marked by age and experience. Some saw Clara as a symbol of empowerment, asserting her own voice amid judgment. Others viewed her as vulnerable, caught in a dangerous situation. For Victor, the silence was suffocating. Once surrounded by the warmth of friendship and mentorship, he now faced the cold reality of being ostracized. But he also embraced the opportunity for introspection and growth. Through counseling, he confronted the complexity of their relationship, acknowledging the power imbalances and the social perceptions he had perhaps underestimated. Though physically apart, Clara and Victor found ways to support each other quietly. Letters exchanged in secret, carefully worded and heartfelt, revealed their shared pain and enduring respect. They recognized that their bond, though no longer public, was meaningful in its own right. Clara's family, too, began to heal. Isabel and Martin leaned on each other, learning to navigate the delicate balance between protection and independence. Their love for Clara was unwavering, but so was their desire to let her find her own path. As months passed, Clara's art gained recognition beyond the town. Galleries expressed interest, moved by the raw honesty and emotion in her work. Through her creations, Clara reclaimed her narrative, transforming scandal into strength. Victor quietly supported her from afar, proud of the young woman she was becoming. Though their relationship had been tested and transformed, the impact they had on each other remained undeniable. The town, while still divided in memory, began to reflect on what the scandal had truly meant. Community leaders organized workshops on healthy relationships and consent. Schools included new programs addressing the complexities of power and trust. Clara and Victor's story became a catalyst for dialogue and education, a reminder that human connections are rarely simple, and that judgment without understanding can cause more harm than good. In the end, their journey was about more than scandal. It was about growth, resilience, and the courage to face the consequences of choices made in the search for connection and meaning. As Clara looked toward the future, brush in hand and heart open, she knew that despite everything, her story was hers to tell, and that was a powerful thing. The case may be closed, but the truth still echoes. Want more stories the world tried to forget? Subscribe to CrimeLock, and stay with us as we unlock the crimes time couldn't bury. Until next time, stay alert, stay aware, and stay locked in.